Hey guys, so beginner services to offer as a bookkeeper. So if you're just starting out as a bookkeeper, it's probably overwhelming, and I would recommend not offering every single thing in the world. So I have three different levels of bookkeeper tasks I'd recommend if you're just starting out. Um, if you're just starting out. So start with beginner, then you work out way up to an intermediate and then advanced as you get more experience and more comfortable. Now, really, I would focus more on the comfort level because experience is kind of a fleeting milestone. So some clients, and this is in my experience, some clients want you to have like a million years experience versus some are just happy that they found you, right? So there's a varying like level of appreciation depending on who you're actually speaking to. So my name is Bryce, and I own two companies. The first is my bookkeeping accounting firm called VAS. I also have a mentorship program where we help people start and grow their bookkeeping businesses. So I make these videos to help beginners, intermediate bookkeepers find confidence in their skills so they can build a business and change the course of their life. So I'm gonna be drinking a lot of water during this because sometimes it's a little bit hard to talk for an extended period of time. So, and I think this video might be a little bit on the longer side because I want to go through all the different services. So also, if you'd like to learn a little bit more about our mentorship program to see if it's a good fit for you, click the link inside the description either above, below the video to book a call, see if we can help you. So, all right, so inside the beginner phase, the easiest thing is that you can start with your own clients. Let me do this and change this. There's like a weird highlight here. The easiest things you can do and like is really start out with your clients. And if you're just starting as a bookkeeper, like categorizing, reconciling, and sending reports. So those three things you can definitely figure out. I would say that a lot of business owners, if they're starting out, like they don't want to hire a bookkeeper yet, and they'll actually do those things by themselves to start out. So that's the business owner. So like if you just have a little bit of training and you know how to do like, bookkeeping and like be a bookkeeper, you can definitely offer those same services to clients. Now, one thing to notice, just because the work that you offer in the beginning stages might not be the most complex, it does not mean that you can't charge a good monthly amount for these services. Now, because like one factor in pricing is volume of work. Okay. You can have 100 hours of data entry work every single month for a client and charge them like $5,000, $10,000 a month. Now, I don't know if you'd want to do that much data entry work, but you could make a good living from it if you had enough of it. Okay, so just a brief overview of these different things. So you want to hook up, scroll a little bit too far. You want to hook up your client's bank account in the bank feeds section, and then all of their expenses and income is going to feed in through the bank feeds. And then it's our job to categorize each of those things so you can get the right amount of deductions at tax time. And then things go right and like in the right categories on their tax returns. So the types of expenses you're probably going to be seeing are probably the same kind of like utilities, maybe a phone bill, computer bill, sometimes office rent if they have like an office space. And you'll probably see some kind of like supplies, depending on what kind of business it is. So maybe office supplies, or if they're selling some kind of like product or etc. Now, if it's like a t-shirt business, then they're gonna have ink. Like they're gonna have like t-shirts and whatever else they need. Maybe some marketing and like some payroll is also like a big one if they have like employees, which payroll is a little bit more intermediate and advanced. Like we're going to talk about payroll and the different types of payroll later on in this video. But yeah, and the same with like income. So they could have income from different sources that they want to track and put in different categories, or they might just want to put all their income like lumped together. And all these different categories are contained inside the chart of accounts. Now, I believe we have a video in on this channel that breaks down chart of accounts. So if you go into like the channel search bar, you should be able to go find it. Also, at the end of the month, after you've categorized everything, you're going to want to reconcile the bank accounts. So that involves getting the bank statement from the bank. Sometimes QuickBooks will actually feed it in depending on the bank. Otherwise, like you'll have to go in and like download it from the bank website. And then you look and see like what the ending balance is. So if you're just doing like January, you're going to be looking and seeing what the ending balance is from the bank statement on January 30th. And then you're going to plug that into the reconcile area in QuickBooks. Okay. And then you're going to make sure that all the transactions in QuickBooks are matching all the transactions on the bank statements, and you have the exact same ending balance, right? So that's called categorizing and reconciling. And then you're going to want to send your client a month-end report. So usually it's a profit and loss statement, a balance sheet, and then in some cases there could be like special reports they also want to see. So there's a section, I don't know why I keep scrolling so far. There's a section in QuickBooks for reports, and you can email these pretty easily to clients in that way. Give me one second, let me pause this. Also, I fixed the pages, so there's no pages. So, also, there's a section in QuickBooks for reports, and you can email these pretty easily to clients that way. So, hopefully, if you're just starting out and you're super overwhelmed by like all the different bookkeeping tasks that there that are like available to you, it's a really, really simple way to just kind of be like, okay, so I'm just going to focus on these three things. These are essential things that my clients are going to need, especially if it's a smaller client. Remember, in the beginning, it's not a bad thing to take on small clients. Like, you don't have to take on like a massive corporation, okay? It's okay to kind of work your way into the game as you're kind of growing. So, I actually have a video out there that's called the 30 best clients to start out with. I'm pretty sure it's the name of the video. It's been a little while since I made it, so it'll be great if you want to. You can go like just really take a look at it. I might drop it inside the description box below, so go check that out like to learn more about that. But they're basically tips for like businesses that might be a little bit more simplified, especially if it's like a newer business or like a solopreneur, or to just have like one or two people working inside the business. And I do have a ton of videos that are like on those kind of topics and like how to handle those kind of smaller companies. Now, hopefully you're ready. Now, next thing is like some different topics we have are like, are you actually ready? Like, do you feel like you're ready to be a bookkeeper? Next, like, how do you get experience? Like, what to say if you don't feel like you have that much experience? Also, we're going to link to a bunch of videos that you can see inside the description box. They're similar to those. So you can check that out after this video. Cool. Next is intermediate. Okay. So in this second level, if you have those basics down, I would start with these next things. All right. So the main ideas for this section are AP and AR, which is accounts payable and accounts receivable, paying bills and invoicing. Okay. So in addition to those things, I put cleanup under intermediate as well. And that has like a little asterisk beside it because cleanup might be necessary at any one of these levels, so like beginner, intermediate, or advanced. And it can be challenging, right? And it really does vary from client to client. But if you have a beginner client that needs a cleanup as well, I wouldn't really shy away from that, right? Because especially if it's in that beginner category, right? Because we do serve as a resource inside of like our mentorship program. Like you ever get a client that's like above your current skill set, in our program, we do guide you through like to make sure you're doing things correctly. So you're never gonna like feel like you're above your head or you're in over your head, right? So for example, one of our students named James, like when he came to us, he was like a life coach. Like he does like life coaching for like his main like job. And he really wanted to just get into like bookkeeping, but he was like, I don't really have that much experience. I don't really know exactly what I'm doing. So we basically taught him basically from scratch how to do accounting, bookkeeping, and QuickBooks to make sure he had a solid foundation to be able to start taking on clients. And not just like, taking on clients, but not really knowing what he's doing, but really have that confidence to be able to know, like, hey, I can actually handle it. So it took him about 2 to 3 months to get his first like four clients. Like the first like month, like we really spend just focused on like the accounting, the bookkeeping. And then within like the next like 1 to 2 months, then he got like his first two clients. So getting a client like every 2 weeks. That was a pretty good pace for him because we didn't want to overwhelm him, but he also wanted to make sure his like revenue was growing as well. So nowadays, whenever he has a client, we sit down with them, make sure he like fully understands how to handle that client. Because again, we never want you to feel like you're in over your head because that's a really discouraging kind of feeling, and it can cause really like stagnate your growth and really, it can really take some people back. Another thing we do is like we actually had him partner up with a more experienced student in our program so that any client that comes that are like maybe in like the intermediate or advanced stage that maybe he can't handle, he actually partners with that student who does the work for him for those clients. They actually split the revenue like 50-50. So the win-win partnership, and he gets to basically have like on-the-job training while knowing that his books for his clients are done right. So cleanup. Okay, so cleanup can mean a few things. Like it could be that your client, the business owner, has like been doing the books. Maybe they made some mistakes along the way. And there were like a few things that they were forgetting. Like maybe they weren't reconciling all year, but they're pretty good about categorizing. Maybe they were reconciling was they didn't do any reconciling, but they did some categorizing. Okay, cool. Right. So that wouldn't take you too long to fix, hopefully, right? I say hopefully because it really depends. It really depends. Like sometimes things go really easy, sometimes things go really hard. I expect it's like I hope for the best, but I expect them to be kind of like challenging, right? Anytime in this game, whether it's starting a business or doing accounting and bookkeeping, anytime that I've underestimated how hard something was going to be, um, it's terribly hard. So I have a rule with my business partner Sharon, and it's like if we ever learn about something and we both start laughing, thinking it's easy, we are in trouble. We never do that anymore. Like it's just happened too many times Where like for example, the first year we thought we were gonna do like some taxes. We dropped like we were like, okay, no one's doing taxes. We can just do like these mailers and like we dropped like $3,000 on mailers. We got like one tax client from that, right? And we were both laughing like, this is gonna be so easy. Why is no one else thinking about it? And it's just like, oof. That did not work. That was $3,000 down the drain. We did not have a lot of money to waste back at that time. But it's just one of those things, you know? And so hopefully it wouldn't take you too long to fix. So you could just start with like January and start reconciling like January, then February, then March, and so on, depending until you get current. Now, a lot of problems I tend to see are with like invoicing. Okay. So if your client wants to set up invoices through QuickBooks, it seems straightforward, but then there's like a few steps that like people sometimes forget or get like wrong. I'm not going to go super deep into like cleanups in this video. My partner Sharon actually made a pretty in-depth video cleanups. I'm gonna put that inside like the description box below, and there should be a link to it. And like she's pretty good at explaining like cleanups and really explaining how to do bookkeeping, accounting step by step, and like really giving you process and procedures to follow. We also made a free PDF checklist that we gave to people inside of our Facebook group. So yeah. For me, I actually had to learn how to do cleanups through trial and error. So Sharon was teaching me how to do them, but you know, at the end of the day, I still had to do like trial and error when we were doing it. So I would just go in and be like, okay, cool. So this is so easy, and like it looks this part looks weird. I would just start digging into like what was the problem, and like in some cases, it might be easier to start like a new QuickBooks file if there isn't years and years of stuff that you have to go through, or if there isn't data that you need to save. So if it's just like 6 months and the book's like a total disaster, then I would just start fresh, and then like you can maybe just like do it correctly for the first time, and like that's cleanups, which is like intermediate. Then there's bill pay, so it's actually pretty recent. So I talk about some different workflows for bill pay, but a lot of times you're going to be receiving the bill either electronically or you're going to receive a paper copy. Then you can enter into QuickBooks and then pay it from there. So I think that's a pretty straightforward. It's not too hard. It's not too complicated usually. And then invoicing is like kind of that next level up. And like I was mentioning before, invoicing is straightforward, but I do see people consistently like mess it up. They mostly mess up like usually when they're trying to receive the payment and like apply it to the invoice. If nothing weird's going on, then it's like pretty easy. But sometimes people will like make like half payments or there'll be like different things happening that can require a little bit more expertise. So I don't want you to be intimidated by invoicing, but just know I do consider it like an intermediate skill as a bookkeeper. And then the other thing I included with intermediate is like third party payroll. So if your client uses like a payroll company, it's like an outside company like Augusto, QuickBooks does have a payroll service, like an automatic payroll service. But there's also ADP and there's like Paychex, there's Patriot, there's a lot of different ones, depending like what the company is. ADP is a pretty popular one. They have like a huge amount of reps, like that are always like marketing and pushing that product. So, you might run to ADP a little bit more. Same Gusto as well, but Patriot was like a really popular one in the past. Now, these are all organizations that do most of the payroll. And it's going to be your job on the intermediate level to put it into QuickBooks correctly, right? Which does require some skills. So if you're going to have to figure out like, how to sync whatever your payroll company is with QuickBooks, and then usually like QuickBooks and the payroll company will like talk to each other. Right. Now, every single time you run payroll, either once or twice a month, the two programs will talk to each other and they'll feed into QuickBooks. But you will initially have to map it. So mapping just means that you need to tell the software like what like each input translates into the system. So it knows exactly like what goes in which places, right? Because if they don't have it, they might have like different definitions and they might have different terms that mean the same thing, but unless it's like it's almost like using Google Translate. So it's like, okay, so in ADP, this field name means full name in Facebook, right? Or it could be, okay, so this is your email. Okay, so this is email, this means email here, right? So we're translating between the two software so that they can feed into one another and understand exactly what they're saying. And then you do have to make sure you do that correctly because some of the accounts are going to be like liability accounts. Depending on what tax they're taking out, this can be a little bit tricky. So if you have any mentors or people that you can ask to like maybe just double check that the mapping on the payroll is correct, then that's going to be really helpful for you and for your client. Okay. So the last one is advanced. So these are actually two things that I don't really do that much as a bookkeeper. Now, I consider them a specialty and a step above. So if you really want to get into these certain tasks, you can. And those two things are manual payroll as well as inventory. So for like a long time, like most of the students in our mentorship program didn't even offer like manual payroll, right? Um, I personally don't offer those services like payroll services, manual payroll services as much anymore and same thing with inventory too, because I found it can be a little bit hard to get a good contractor, especially because like for inventories like cost accounting, it's really hard to find like a lot of good cost accounts. A lot of people just don't like doing it. However, services like inventory management can be very, very high paying because you can directly affect your client's revenue based on your performance. I'll talk about that in a minute, what that looks like. But yeah. Yeah, so manual payroll is instead of hiring like a payroll like a third party one to run it, you have to make it go into like QuickBooks correctly. And it's actually like you're in QuickBooks and you're figuring out like all the taxes for every single employee and you figure out all like the deductions and everything, and that's all within QuickBooks. And it's a pretty big specialized skill. I don't know how this thing got crossed out like that. Like you would know if you study that. So I actually took a class that was like just about payroll because I thought maybe like I want to do manual payroll. I was like, maybe I'm missing out by just not doing it. Or at least I was like, I need to like get a better understanding of it. But like the class kind of made me think like I do not want to do manual payroll because it was just like this is stupid. And there's like a lot of steps to it, like the laws are always changing, and it's easy to make like a small mistake, which I feel would be like having really big consequences to people's paychecks, right? Because I mean now you're affecting like their employees and everything if you do it wrong. So it's like, yeah, I really didn't like want the extra pressure on that one. So it's just like, yeah, okay. So if your bookkeeper wants to do manual payroll, like there's definitely a niche for you, and you can like most likely charge even more because like you have that specialized skill. And also same thing with like inventory. So I've learned that, like in different things that like it's not that I don't like inventory clients, it's just that I don't like taking them on now that I have like a lot of contractors underneath me. And the reason is because like generally you need to have a little bit more skill. And part of building your business, like choosing which clients you want to work with, right? It's because I mean you can choose what clients you have, you can choose what you like want to learn. You can also choose like what you want to specialize in, which is a great thing about like, a bookkeeping business. You have so much choice. Okay. But the idea behind inventory is like it's an asset to the business. So if someone like has like like going back to our t-shirt example, if someone has a t-shirt business, they buy like tons and tons, like a warehouse full of like t-shirts. That's a big asset they have in their business and in their book. So you want to make sure you can track that. And then if you like a big pile of t-shirt goes like missing, then someone's aware of that. And there's also a monetary association with it. So for example, one of our students named Jordan, our mentorship program, he loves e-commerce, right? So he loves e-commerce. Now he does a lot with inventory. Like he helped one of his clients add between about 500,000 to about $1 million per year to their revenue due to like understanding like how to predict which one of their products and SKUs were going to be sold out on Black Friday versus which ones are like their lowest selling items. So they're able to like really make sure they had the right amount of each thing. Because like the previous year, they actually ran out of inventory after Black Friday. So like they missed like Cyber Monday, they missed the whole Cyber Week. They didn't actually have like they didn't get their next order of shipment until after Christmas. So it was a mess the year before. So when he came in, it made it really easy. So not only did he get to like charge her $7,000 for like an onboarding fee, he also charged her like $3,500 a month, and he even gets a percentage of new revenue that he creates with his inventory rate. If sorry, inventory reports. When I say like new revenue, it's like the revenue that like beats the year before that's directly like tied to ordering the proper amount of inventories and the right timing for inventory. We talk about like pricing inside our mentorship program, like how to do pricing and stuff like that. So. Yeah, and it's really based on like the niche you work with when it comes to inventory. It's like manufacturing, e-com, supply chain, etc. Like personally, this video is based on a question that came from you guys. So definitely like let me know inside the comments any of the questions you might have, or if there are like certain videos you want for me to like to make so you can like see. Because I'm always open to suggestions. Like I love hearing like types of videos that you'd find helpful since it does make it easier for me to like keep making more videos, right? Because like on my main YouTube channel, we have it's more like based around like marketing and sales. And like I had like a thousand videos out there, but like for this channel, it's like it's hard in some case for me to kind of like put myself in the mind frame of someone who's just getting started. So by you kind of like say, hey, can you make a video on this? Or can you make a video on this? Can you make a video on this? It makes it so much easier for me to like know what to film and know exactly like what's valuable. Also, if you want some help in your business, like maybe you've been thinking about starting a business, but it's like, you're trying to learn bookkeeping, you're trying to learn the skill set, and you know that if you had like guidance, if you had like a proven process to be able to learn accounting, price your services, do the marketing, do the sales, and you'd be able to go and reach your goals and maybe even leave your job if that's what you want, go ahead and click the link inside the description, either above or below the video, to book a call with myself to see if I can help you inside of our program. Okay? I'll talk to you soon. When you book your call, it's actually going to take you to a page with like a lot more videos you can do some research on, just get an understanding of like how we can help you out. So if that's you, I'd love to see you on the call. If not, I will see you inside of the next video. Take it easy.